Ladies and gentlemen, mic check. Make sure this mic is working. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Can you hear? Can everybody hear me? Microphone check. Mic check. 1, 2. We are live. We are live. Okay. Okay. So we want to make sure that everybody can hear us. We're just checking everything before we get started. How's everybody doing? As you come in, if you can hear me, let me know. You can hear me, let me know. Mic check, mic check. All right. So today I want to talk to you all about why do we tell lies? I want us to really break down what it looks like from the perspective of learning something from this. You know, why do people lie? So I want us to really, really take our time with it. Okay. Hang on 1 second. Let me make sure that this sound is right. I know we got it coming through here. Check, mic check, mic check. I don't know if YouTube can hear. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. If you're here, let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Please make a notation in the comments field for me. Just want to make sure that the mic is working. Can you hear me? Anybody listening? Mic check, mic check. Good deal. Good deal. Thank you. Glad you can hear. All right, so we'll go ahead and we are recording this podcast live. We're recording the podcast live. We're about to get started right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Do It in the Dark, our podcast on introspection and accountability. Today we are discussing why do people lie? We're talking about why do people lie? We're going to break down some various aspects of lying and what it means for people to lie and the reasons that they lie. I think there's some very specific reasons people actually lie. And I don't think that everything is meant to be vengeful um, or retaliatory. So let's talk about what some of the definitions of lying looks like. Let's talk about it. All right. So, what is a lie? By definition, the word lie means to purposefully and deliberately misrepresent facts or to deceive somebody. That is the definition of a lie. So, today we want to talk about why we lie, what are some of the circumstances. We're going to talk about what are the four colors of lies. And we're going to talk about what are some of the personality types, right? And then I want to give you three of my personal takeaways as to why people lie and what they're really looking to accomplish when they lie. So I read an article. Let me find it for you guys. I read an article on covenanteyes.com, right? And it talks about the four personalities of people that lie. So let me read this excerpt from the article, and then we'll break it down. So there's an article on covenanteyes.com. It says that we may lie for different reasons. In this book, The Road Back to You, an Enneagram Journey on Self-Discovery by Cron, he makes the point that we tend to evade the truth for different reasons. Most of them are purely unconscious reasons, and it depends on our personality type. For example, there's the perfectionist, right? A perfectionist will be tempted to deny even the slightest mistake because in his mind, his value depends on entirely doing everything absolutely right. So, of course, he will tell a lie if it is perceived that he's doing something wrong or he didn't get something right because he's a perfectionist. Now, being a perfectionist and telling a lie about something that you did does not necessarily mean that you are doing something harmful or doing something to harm or hurt other people, right? It just means that whatever you're choosing to lie about, it still is dishonest, but there's no harm to other people per se. So the next one, let's talk about the next one. There's the performer. A performer will be tempted to cover up a slip up because he believes failure is fatal. His only value lies in being perceived as a unqualified success or a star. So if I'm a performer and I make a mistake, I perceive that the crowd or the audience will judge me more harshly. So it is my job to try to cover up any mistakes or anything to where it does not taint the image that I have in my head of what the audience is looking at. And then there's the challenger. A challenger will be tempted to conceal a slip up for the fear of being seen as weak or vulnerable. Also, losing crucial control in a relationship. That is a person who's a challenger, which means they challenge everything you say, and sometimes they lie when you challenge them. And then, last but not least, the last personality type is the peacemaker. Now, the peacemaker is the type of person who will avoid admitting something because they fear the results of the conflict will actually cost them the relationship that they're currently in. So you have the perfectionist, the performer, the challenger, and the peacemaker. Those are four different types of personalities of people that you probably come in contact with every day. And it's just one paradigm of the type of people who tell lies to cover things up. So I think it was very interesting when I came across the topic of uh, why people lie. It was something in current events where I think in the state of Florida there was a pastor who actually had to come out and confess and apologize to his congregation, step down, apologize to his wife and the family of his wife because he had some type of sexual um, promiscuities outside of the marriage, but not only outside of the marriage, but he was also dealing with some homosexual activity. So, in the instance with that gentleman, that minister, he was deceiving his wife, deceiving his congregation, and deceiving himself, and probably the person that he was involved with. And so, when he was faced with the backlash of public scrutiny and ridicule, he was forced to confess and come clean. Now, to be honest with you, if he was doing whatever he had to do to cover up his tracks, to keep that concealed from his wife and his congregation, he should feel somewhat relieved to have that burden off of him of being able to tell the truth about who he truly is and the type of stuff that he really participates in. If he's in that a part of the gay community, my advice would be, if that's your thing, then you need to embrace that community and live within your truth. Because trying to lie only breeds more vitriol from the people that you actually end up hurting, i.e., his wife, the congregation that followed him as a minister um, of the gospel. So that's just one example. But reading that story about that gentleman and reading his apology to his wife, to her family, to his family, it really made me talk about. It really made me want to talk about, why do we lie in the first place? And so, as we define the word lie, we know that it means to deliberately misrepresent facts or an outcome for some type of benefit. And that's the part that I want to talk about today. Most people who lie because there's some form of benefit for telling the lie. And so today I want to talk to you. We just went over the 4 personality types. I want to talk to you about the 4 colors of lies. And then we're going to talk about 3 reasons why I think people actually tell lies. And we're going to drill that down and talk about it a little bit more. All right. So let's talk about the color of lies. So there's a breakdown, and I think this is very, very important for you guys to understand. Within the aspect of the 4 colors, there are 2 dimensions of why people choose to tell a white lie, a gray lie, a black lie, or a red lie. There's 2 reasons why. Either of any of those 4 will be selected. So I want to go over what those 2 dimensions are for you all. Okay. So let's talk about how it affects me. How it affects me. That's one. One of the 2 dimensions is how it affects me, and the other aspect of it is how it affects other people. So let's go back to, how does it affect me? So the forces of evolution and natural push towards self-preservation, it leads us to make decisions in spur of the moments when we feel threatened. So to preserve our basic needs, sometimes we will lie just to make sure that we are protected in the moment. And so that's what we do because it affects us. How it affects other people. What we say oftentimes has an effect on other people, especially when we are directly communicating with them. So there are lies that we tell to help other people, and what we're looking for is for them to acquiesce and in concert lie for us if we need it. Now, that may be beneficial to that person that we are lying for at the time. And then when they tell a lie on our behalf to cover something for us, it helps us in return. However, the person that we are lying to in each situation loses out. And that's the part I really want us to connect the dots on. When we tell a lie, whether it is a white lie, gray lie, black lie, or red lie, each time we tell a lie, we are deliberately, intentionally deceiving somebody else for a benefit or some type of reward. We're doing it for some type of reward. So the actual reward depends on the personality of the person. So let me see if I can link this for you guys. I want to make it make sense real quick. Back in 2013, there was a experiment done, and it was published in the Journal of European Economics, right? And what they did was they took several people, we'll say, I think it was around 50 people. They took 50 people and gave them one die, like rolling dice. They gave them a die and they had to roll the die, and the people will be compensated on the higher number that they received on the die. And so it was scored on the honor system. There was nobody, observing you. You had to report your numbers down. And the higher your numbers, the more money you receive for participating in the experiment. Now, little did they know that they were being filmed by several different, angles, and no one was in the room, but they were being watched just to see on a percentage of the 50 people that participated, how many people would tell the truth, how many people would lie, and which area, which direction would they lie. So one person lied about so she rolled the die and she received a 6. 6 was the highest that you can get on the numbers. That was her actual number. She actually won whatever the monetary value was for rolling the highest number. Instead of her writing on her little tally that she scored a 6, she wrote that she scored a 3. And when asked about it afterwards, because we had to talk about it, why did you lie? The lady wrote, her response was, I didn't want them to think I was cheating because I had rolled a 6 my first time. So she was literally, she had scored high and she earnestly, honestly won the large amount of money, but she lied about it because personality wise, the type of person she is, she did not want to be assumed as a cheater. So even at the detriment of not earning a higher amount of money for participating in the experiment, she wrote a lower score because it felt better to be perceived as somebody who was not a cheater. I just think that is extremely fascinating, the way that our mind thinks. And when you look at the psychology of it, what is really happening is we are basing these decisions on a thought process that was formed through our environment and through our nurture and nature system, where we think about how other people view us, and also in the moment, how can I preserve what I feel to be my true self? So sometimes we lie. There were other people that participated in the experiment that would roll a low number. Once they toss the die, they get an actual low number. Like one guy got a 2. So instead of reporting a 2, he wrote that he had a 5. So when questioned about it, he said, listen, I could really use the extra money. So I misrepresented my actual score because I wanted to try to get more money from the experiment. His reasoning for lying was not just to deceive them, but it was based and rooted on the aspect of trying to preserve his need for needing the money, or trying to preserve the aspect of why he needed the money. I just find that fascinating that we do that. So, as we discuss the 4 colors of lies, let's talk about, most people lie because they know that the outcome is something that will affect either them or it will affect other people positively or negatively. Those are the two dimensions of why we lie. So the four colors are white lie, gray lie, black lie, and red lie. Let's talk about little white lies. I'm sure everybody's probably heard the notion of a little white lie, right? So let's talk about what white lies are. According to this article, in this model, a white lie are they're typically altruistic as they seek first to help others, even at the cost of ourselves. In practice, there are shades of white. What we tell ourselves are white lies, but are oftentimes toward gray more than they are purely white. Even when we lose our out significantly, there's arguably always some benefit. For example, in the way we feel good about our actions and how other people praise or thank us for our acts of being selflessness or demonstrated selflessness, excuse me. So what that means is I remember there was a big thing in social media about this guy who saved the horse. The horse had fallen into a ditch, and there was nobody around. And so when the camera crews and things came around, this guy was actually credited with saving the horse. Come to find out, because there's cameras all over the place, the gentleman didn't save the horse. The horse was able to the horse was actually able to, kind of wheel himself out of the ditch. And the guy just stood there. And so when he was asked about it, he was like, when they asked the guy, why did you lie about helping the horse? The guy was like, listen, everybody, the news was there. Everybody was thanking me and giving me accolades. I've never been thanked before for doing anything. In that moment, it felt good. So for him, he was trying to fulfill a void in his life by taking a moment and being dishonest about helping the horse. Now that would probably fall under the category of white lie to gray, because the color white and gray means that you tell a lie because there's a benefit to you or to somebody else, but it does not cause harm to somebody else, if that makes sense. All right. So you're telling a lie with the intent to deceive, but not really to hurt. And there's a difference, but it's still wrong. So let's talk about what a gray lie is. Most of the lies that we tell are probably gray lies, right? They are partly to help others and partly to help ourselves. They may vary in the shade of gray depending on the balance and the help and harm. Gray lies are almost by definition hard to clarify. Mm. They're hard to clarify, kind of hard to prove. For example, you can lie to help a friend out of trouble, but then you gain a reciprocal benefit of that friend also lying for you, right? In a different situation. While they may seem harmless on the surface, the person who's actually losing out is the person that you are lying to on behalf of you or your friend. But it still doesn't feel as bad because at the end of the day, you're thinking nobody got hurt or nobody's getting hurt. It's just a little lie. Now let's move to the next color, the black lie, which is probably one of the more vicious lies because it is purely about selfishness. We tell black lies when others gain nothing, and the sole purpose is to either uh, to get ourselves out of trouble, reduce harm against ourselves, or to gain something that we desire. So those are probably, one of the most difficult ones that people have to live with because you are simply doing it because there's a selfish benefit. We all know that lying is bad. But when you have to lie for any reason, especially a reason to better yourself or think that you're bettering yourself, then you truly, truly have deeper scars that psychologists say that need to be faced and conquered. Otherwise, it could continue and lead you down the road of not just telling one or two black lies from a matter of being selfish, but can put you on the path of being a liar, a type of liar, like a pathological liar, sociopathic, pathological liar, any type of um, advanced derogatory situation could lead you down a really, really dark path. And then last but not least, there's the red lie. Red lies are about spite and revenge. They are driven by the motive to harm others, even at the expense of harming ourselves. They may even be carved in blood, meaning that you want revenge to the point of even causing death, which is truly not something that anybody should want or wish on anybody. But the reason they call this a red lie is because, say for instance, you to a fight, and I've seen this done plenty of times in my college days. A young lady is upset with a man, he cheated on her. She takes a rock and she would burst his car window, right? She busts out the windows. In that moment, she feels vindicated for what she did. The gentleman takes her to court. I'm sure y'all have seen Judge Judy cases like this, right? She stands there and she says, "No, that wasn't me. I don't know what he's talking about." Now, in that moment, like it just said here, they are driven by the motive to harm others, even at the expense of harming themselves. When you're standing in court and you are lying to the judge because you don't want to fess up to it, in that moment, you are now putting yourself greater and greater harm because not only could you possibly do, have to pay to, because you're losing your case in court, but lying to the judge could put you in contempt and you could possibly get jail time, all because of a vengeful moment. So let's talk about this in terms of the three reasons I think people tell lies. And if there's any takeaway that you get from this is not to make anybody feel bad, but I want to make you think more from a psychological aspect that when we lie, we're doing so not just because of the topic at hand, but we're doing so because it helps to cover something that is missing, lost, or not achieved in our personal lives. So the three reasons we lie to cover up from having to confess for past lies and other decisions, right? It's almost like that thing your granny used to tell you. If you tell one lie, you got to tell another one to cover that one. That is so true. She was not lying to you. So we lie to cover up other past issues that we've kind of lied about. So now there's a trail of lies that we have to try to keep up with. That can be exhausting. Number two is we lie due to not give up, we lie trying to live up to social comparisons. Stating one's lifestyle is something that it truly isn't. There are a lot of people on social media, on throughout all of the different platforms that want to be influencers, want to be famous. And so they lie about certain things. That has to be a very empty feeling for you to have to lie about the fame and fortune, the notoriety, the influential uh, aspect of your life So those are things that we really want people to take stock in, because that has to be an empty truth that you're dealing with. So I would challenge you in a social aspect like that, or dealing with a social aspect, you have to be able to look inside yourself, be introspective, and hold yourself accountable for what's missing. Or even, just ask the question, what am I missing in life that would lead me to do such a thing? And then the third one is we lie so that we can protect other people. I've done it in the past, especially in college. Oh my God, me and my roommates, we would all lie for one another to cover, to make sure that, my boy was good. But none of it was beneficial. And most times it didn't yield us a different outlook other than having to tell the truth at the end of getting caught in the lie by your girl anyway. Because most time we were lying to our girls about what we were doing and where we were going. So the reasons we lie, I packaged it in this small excerpt here, and I want to talk about this before we close. We lie because it is the perceived best option in that current moment. Most times it is a temporary survival tactic, not in a sense of life or death all the time, but simply just for us to be able to say that we survived that moment. So I want you to take this with you as as we conclude and shut this down about why do we lie. Think about that. We lie because it is in the perceived best option in that current moment. Most times it is a temporary survival tactic, not in the sense of life and death, but simply surviving the moment. It's very important for us to get to a point where we use truth, knowing that we can survive the moment being truthful to other people and truthful to ourselves. Because when you lie, there's a certain type of guilt that you have to hold on to in order to keep the appearance that you're okay with the lie you just told. So, as hard as it feels to push through and tell the truth, it really is the better option for you. It really is the best thing to do in terms of making the best decision for yourself. Just tell the truth. Deal with the consequences right then in that moment. And so there's nothing that you have to patch up later. So I would advise everybody, as we wrap up, I want to conclude this by going over the word lie means to deliberately misrepresent facts or results. There are four different types of personalities of people that lie: the perfectionist, the performer, the challenger, and the peacemaker, right? Those are the four. And there are four colors of lies: the little white lie, the gray lie, the black lie, and the red lie. And within those four colors are the two dimensions. How does it affect me when I tell a lie? How does it affect other people when I lie? And then last but not least, consider the three ways that we are looking to cover up things from our past. That's why we lie. We are trying to live up to social comparisons, so we lie. We post pictures of cars that are not ours. I hope nobody's still doing that, but when social media first popped out, people were really doing that, standing by other people's cars, right? And then the last thing is, we lie to save or protect other people. Let's try and get to a place of truth and honesty so that we can live with a clean consciousness and not have the burden of the guilty feeling of misrepresentation of ourselves and who we truly are. All right. So as I close the day, I hope y'all got that. We talked about why do we lie, and it's been a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate y'all taking this journey with me. This was a topic for me because I know I don't consider myself a liar, but being married for 16 plus years, there are times I find myself lying to my wife because it's easier. And sometimes, like Kevin Hart said, the lie is more believable than the truth in some instances. So I challenge you guys, check yourself and don't lie about the situation. Deal with the consequences head on. Be truthful. Until next time, do it in the dark. Turn the lights off because the work begins in the dark. Peace.